Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe, Kyle, and Ray. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast will contain detailed spoilers. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show. 7 years ago, you were offered the choice. Join Reviews Without Remorse or spend your life listening to mediocre movie reviews. Because of your unique natural talents, this podcast forgave you. And this is episode number 202, and in this episode, Joe Don Baker has passed. We will pay our respects. And then, our lives are the sum of our choices, and we cannot escape the past. We will review 2023's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
I thought you all tall, because you gotta learn how to crawl. You let them do this to me and get away with it, then you give them the eternal right to do the same damn thing to any one of you.
Joe Don Baker, born 1936 and died just a few days ago, 2025. I will confess, now this is a guy, if you look at his IMDb, he has been around for a long time, and he really made his mark doing television shows that I think all of us would have been watching back in the day. The Mission Impossible TV show, a whole bunch of stuff like that. And I'll kind of confess, I didn't really even, the first time I saw him was Fletch.
Officers, could you excuse us for a few moments?
Hey, why don't you guys go down to the gym and pump each other?
He was the bad cop in Fletch, the police chief.
The guy who threatens to murder Fletch in the holding cell.
Yes.
That's pretty frightening. That's some scary stuff. I mean, yeah, Fletch is obnoxious and kind of a wise ass, but I'm not going to put a bullet in him for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's actually, I've always been a huge fan of Fletch. I always find it to be kind of a really underrated movie. So,
oh yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
It's just one joke after another.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that was a series that kind of, it was sort of like the poor man's Beverly Hills Cop, sort of. It was kind of Chevy Chase doing something similar. But still, I thought that was a pretty successful, I mean, there's only 2 films. I thought they were both pretty good. I thought the second one kind of got a little silly, but still pretty damn good.
There's actually 3. One came out with John Hamm about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Right.
And it's not bad. If anybody can pull off rebooting Fletch, John Hamm's the right man for the job.
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw it. I was kind of excited for it. I could see where he was going with it, but I was like, I don't know if he's pulling it off quite as well. But
well, nobody else is as much of a wise ass as Chevy Chase.
That's true. That's true. I mean, that is one of those movies, and boy, we kind of got off track pretty quick, but that's okay.
This is not our review of Fletch.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I didn't realize that was an actual film. I thought that was just like an AI poster. I didn't realize that John Hamm was actually doing a reboot.
Oh yeah, they did it. Yeah, we saw it.
And it is not bad. I would check it out.
But obviously, we know Joe Don Baker much more from a couple other films he was in.
Yo, Jimbo!
Wade, what the hell are you doing here?
Yes, a 3-time playing 2 different characters, James Bond performer.
Absolutely.
The main villain in one of my favorite Bond films, The Living Daylights.
Absolutely, definitely. Yeah, I don't know that he shines exactly in that role. I think he's pretty fine, but I do think he shines later when he shows up in GoldenEye.
I would agree. He plays Bond's CIA buddy, Jack Wade, and I think he's better in the Bond series as a good guy than he is as a bad guy. One of the things that I think is weak in The Living Daylights are the cast of villains.
Yes.
And then bringing him back as a good guy, playing a completely different character, he's just much more suited to like the happy-go-lucky American Hawaiian shirt-wearing goofball with a tattoo on his ass.
Yeah, Muffy.
Well, he does have that personality. He's a big, robust American guy, so it's much more suiting.
Yeah, I don't see him as much of a threat to James Bond. I see him more as the guy who, like, he's buying beers for James Bond.
Yeah. It's funny because he comes across. I want to say that in the Living Daylights, he comes across as sort of an American Goldfinger, because Goldfinger's kind of like big and schlubby, trying to be cool, but it doesn't really work so well. And I kind of feel like that's kind of sort of what Whitaker is in Living Daylights.
Yeah.
But I don't think it really works. I mean, I don't think he's got the gravitas or the presence in that role. But yes, I completely agree that he works much better in GoldenEye as sort of, and it's interesting because it's sort of like you kind of say to yourself when he shows up and he's Jack Wade, you're saying to yourself, why not Felix Leiter? Like, why not just go for it? Because that's kind of basically what he's doing here, which kind of lends to my theory that I've always felt like the Brosnan series was sort of an unofficial reboot, which I think we've discussed probably. But yeah, I think Joe Don Baker is great in that. He's really good in everything he's in. He's a guy who shows up a lot of places, and you kind of just sort of go, "Oh yeah, that guy." You know what I mean? And it kind of works. I mean, he was in Mars Attacks.
Everybody's in that.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, he's always good in what he does.
One of my favorite Joe Don Baker movies is Walking Tall.
You gambled your life, and no one has come to say thank you.
Maybe nobody really does give a damn.
The original Walking Tall, not the remake with The Rock. And he's great in that. All I'm going to say is the baseball bat scene.
Yeah, and I kind of was, it's stuff like that makes me sort of feel like I'm a little embarrassed to say like my first interaction with him was Fletch, because I know he's done great work. But yeah, that's a great one. And
the other thing I would recommend that he did is a British miniseries called Edge of Darkness that was actually directed by Martin Campbell. That's really, really good. And they made it into a remake with Mel Gibson maybe a dozen years ago. Remake, skip it, don't bother. But check out the Edge of Darkness miniseries with Joe Don Baker playing like a corrupt CIA agent. Basically, Jack Wade if he had an evil twin.
Our lives are the sum of our choices. And we cannot escape the past. Ethan, this mission of yours is gonna cost you dearly.
Ethan Hunt and his IMF team must track down a dangerous weapon before it falls into the wrong hands. Written by Bruce Geller, Christopher McQuarrie, and Eric Jendrison. Directed by Christopher McQuarrie. 2023's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Gentlemen, tell me something about Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Wow. The first time I saw this movie, I saw it, I forget if I saw it opening night or opening weekend, but I saw it fairly early on in its cinematic release. Loved it so much, I went back and saw it the very next day because I got to see that again. That was so much fun. This is right up my alley. It's kind of, I hate to say it, but it's what I wish the Bond series was doing.
Yeah, that is kind of the elephant in the room, isn't it? It is kind of, these films really are showing the current James Bond films how it's done, isn't it? But yeah, I completely agree with you. When I rewatched it the other day for the review, it really kind of, I said, man, I just forget how great these films are. I mean, absolutely spectacular. At one point I was looking and I was thinking, like, and it comes right out of the gate, swinging for the fences. I mean, it starts out so strong. At one point I looked, I think I saw like the last credit, like the director credit, maybe. I think we were already like a half an hour into the film. Mm-hmm. I'm not kidding. I couldn't help but notice this time. Like the credits were sort of playing throughout the whole opening of the film, very kind of just popping up here and there. And like I think it was like at the half hour mark, I saw the last of the credits. And it kind of made you realize, like, man, I've seen like this movie is already incredible, and we haven't even finished the credits yet. Like there was so much going on. So, I mean, yeah, this film is just so rich with stuff I won't say that it's flawless, and we'll talk about certain things, but honestly, as a whole, I mean, this sucker is it's beyond a home run, and I kind of feel like it's kind of amazing. This is one of the few series that I genuinely feel started off good and just got better and better and like hit heights of greatness, and I kind of feel like it just I've never seen a film. Every other series I think does the opposite. Starts out with a home run, and then they try to bleed it, more and more, and it just, fizzles slowly. This was the opposite. It starts off good and just goes gangbusters after a while. I mean, it just gets better and better.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And we all knew that Fallout was going to be a hard act to follow. And this one kind of got lost in the mix because it was coming on the heels of that one, which was such a big hit and everybody loved it. I actually think this one is better. Like they go even deeper, they go even bigger, they go even broader with Dead Reckoning. I thought it was great.
Yes, I'll admit, I've been out of the loop on the Mission Impossible movies, and I really can't even tell you why. I saw the first one as a kid. I remember that one and the sequel. And it kind of fizzled out for me. And after watching this one, I'm like, holy shit, what the hell have I been missing? And now I'm starting to go back to the very, very beginning. Last night I rewatched the first one, had the reintroduction with Kittredge and all that. And I'm like, oh man, I really, really need to catch up on these. I don't know what's been keeping me from watching them, but now I'm excited. I'm trying to find a babysitter just to go to theaters to see the part 2 to this one now.
Yeah, you're missing some good flicks. There's a lot here, and they're not just throwaway action movies. I mean, every single one has that one iconic stunt that it's like, how the hell are they going to top it? And every time with each successive movie they do.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with you too. I think this one it might be like I said, there's a couple of things that I definitely would have done a little differently. Like I wouldn't say that this is a completely flawless. There are some films that I can walk away from and be like, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, I can't think of a single thing I would do differently. There was a couple things in here that I was like, yeah, all right, I probably would have handled that different. But with that said, I kind of feel like this one is extremely watchable. I could rewatch this one, to your point, all over and over. I mean, it was so damn good. And I think even probably more than Fallout, at the time I walked out of Fallout just thinking that was like the greatest movie of the year. I thought it just blew my mind. I think this one I might even like more.
Ray, how did this one work in a vacuum for you? Not seeing some of the more recent missions, watching this one without that background, did you find that it still works? Did you have questions? I don't know. How are you feeling?
It definitely still worked for me. I wish that I had seen maybe the past 3, because I'm sure a lot of that plays into this one, but it goes all the way back to the very beginning with the introduction to Ethan Hunt and Gabriel, as you'll come to know him and all. So it worked as the intro to a standalone story, but it would definitely help I'm sure it would have helped if you've seen the past couple movies, and it just builds up into this big finale that possibly could be the end of the series with, the next part 2, the final reckoning. So who knows where it's going to go from there. But no, as a standalone, yeah, it works. It probably would help if you've seen the past couple, but I wouldn't dwell on it.
Yeah, I kind of find that almost all of them work pretty well as standalones, and even if you forget who's who, because I kind of felt like there was nobody in this film necessarily that you really had to sort of know beforehand. I mean, obviously there's reoccurring people, but if I felt like if this was the first time you're walking into this, then you probably just assume, okay, so that's somebody that he knows who is a teammate, etc. I mean, we've had situations like that before where somebody shows up, it turns out to be an ally, we move forward, and it's, you don't really have to know beforehand who the people are. I think it helps, but
and they did a great job flashing back to those scenes too, to show you oh, this is something from his past, and now it's coming back to him.
But even that, the flashback stuff that they showed in this was all original stuff. Those weren't clips from old movies that you're seeing. So they're telling you in the context of this story being told that something had happened prior. So it wasn't like they were flashing back to an earlier film. So yeah, I mean, I think everything is presented pretty on the level.
Yeah, I think the only character that you might not know is the White Widow, who was in the movie immediately preceding this one and is actually Max's daughter. Max, the arms dealer from the very, very first Mission Impossible.
Right.
That character plays a much bigger role in Fallout than she does here. But even here, she's really good. And what's quite fascinating, and this is jumping ahead all the way to the end of the movie, but the scenes where Vanessa Kirby is playing Haley Atwell, playing her, she's really good at playing two different versions of the same character. I thought that was outstanding.
That was definitely.
I totally agree. That was pretty, like, it was very believable. I mean, you know, it was. I thought that was so well done. Totally agree.
Yeah, I bought into it right away, and that's the kind of stuff that I love about this series. Is whenever they do like the real spy stuff, like disguises and really elaborate break-ins and heists and all of this teamwork with the gadgets and things. I go crazy for that.
Yeah, I agree. I love how there was even like one scene in this that they were sort of talking about, like, best case scenario, how this plan should work, and you sort of saw, like, they saw it played out, and then they cut back to they're still talking about it, they haven't done anything yet, kind of thing. It was great. It was well done, and I thought that worked. I mean, that was actually a moment where I said to myself, man, they literally just shot an entire sequence just as a sort of a thought bubble, basically, you know, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, it was moments like that I'm saying this film delivers, you know. I mean, they do not hold back at all. I mean, it's everything plus the kitchen sink. It's, you know, I mean, this film, just pure entertainment from start to finish. The person who I thought you were going to mention when you said, if you know, it would help if you had some prior knowledge of this person, the one I thought you were going to say was Ilsa. And I was even saying to myself, like, honestly, the way she sort of reintroduced in here, I thought, again, just if you don't know any better, you just know, okay, that's an ally, you know. So there's something up. We know that, you know, the powers that be are telling you that she's a baddie, she must have turned or something or other, and you sort of know Ethan knows better. He knows something is up, but he has to proceed a certain way. So again, like, if you didn't have any past knowledge of her, it still kind of works the way they did it here.
Well, here's something that they do, and Ilsa is a good example of it in this one, that they never really do all that much. Occasionally, Mission Impossible 3 being the exception, they never really delve into Ethan as a character. He's kind of a blank slate. He's not like James Bond. Like, we know about James Bond's personal life. We know what he likes to eat, what he likes to drink, what he does in his downtime. Ethan doesn't have any of that. Like, he really has no attachment to the real world until this movie. Now they're starting to give him a little bit of a backstory, and they're starting to give him some emotion. They hint that maybe there was a romantic connection between Ethan and Ilsa. I'm not sure if I like it or not, because I've always thought of him as like this just faceless guy, this shadowy guy who's out there saving the world with no background, no attachments to anything. But I like the Ilsa character so much that bringing her in as sort of that person who's going to give Ethan some emotional stakes, it works for me because I like that character from the last two films.
Well, that's, yeah, you know, that's interesting that you say that, because I remember feeling like when we got to Fallout, well, first off, when you got to the third one, all of a sudden, like, the third one starts out really different because he's literally completely retired. He's getting married, and you see him just hanging out, doing like a barbecue at his house. Like, he's just a regular dude, you know, and it's almost like you feel like you walked in. What's that?
Like a little dinner party thing. I think that might have been the last Mission Impossible I saw up until this one.
And that's a good one too. They're all good.
But it's so kind of off that it makes you feel like, did I walk into the wrong movie? Like, it just doesn't feel at all like Mission Impossible till all of a sudden somebody shows up and he gets the message and he has to go get it and all that. Then it clicks. It's like, okay, I see where they're going with this. But so I thought it was interesting that in that film, he's got a full blown love interest, and that, becomes part of the stakes. And I thought it was interesting that in Fallout, they decide to sort of pull her back in. Mm-hmm. And now suddenly we're kind of throwing like this kind of monkey wrench into the works, because now somebody that he cares about is involved, etc. So I thought they, to your point, they kind of were starting to sort of flesh out like a personal life and that sort of thing, but kind of at arm's length. But to what you're saying about how in this one they flash back to before he was even an agent, about how he got pulled in and how somebody that he cared about got killed, etc. So yeah, it is just on some level. Most of the level, he's a blank slate, but they dabble.
Yeah, and that's something else they change a little bit in giving Ethan a backstory for the first time. They kind of changed the nature of what the IMF is, because up to this point, they've always been just like the top operators, like the people that you call sort of an offshoot of the CIA. When nobody else can get the job done, the IMF can. Now they all give them, they all kind of have these criminal backgrounds where they were given a choice to either serve a prison sentence or go to work for the IMF. That's new, and that's another thing that I'm not 100% sure that I like it, because I did kind of like when, these are the people, when nobody else can do it, we call in the top men. Now it's kind of like, you have to complete these missions or else. I struggle with that a little bit.
Yes, I agree with that. I feel like I'm sucking all the air out of the room. Ray, please feel free to be pushy and jump in. But
I agree too. That does seem like a strange thing when you're talking about like bringing in the elite of the elite, and then now it's going to be, well, these are people with a past and we're giving them this chance, and you take this oath to serve us and do everything you can or die. You are the expendable operators for our clandestine organization. That is kind of a strange vibe.
Yeah,
and
I almost felt like, I almost felt like they shouldn't have. It was almost like they pushed that a little too hard. You know what I mean? Like meaning that they were kind of committing to that idea when they didn't need to. Mm-hmm. Like to your point, I mean, this is not Suicide Squad. I don't want to know that. Right. These are all former baddies who decided to whatever. I didn't quite get that. I kind of wish they didn't sort of push that idea too hard, because I mean, Ethan doesn't seem at all like he was a bad guy.
No,
ever.
If anything, he's almost too good. Like there's nothing corruptible about this guy at all. We've never seen any sort of temptation or doubt in Ethan Hunt ever. I mean, he doesn't really have that much character. He's just the good guy.
The world is changing. Truth is vanishing. War is coming.
It's been a long time, friend. You've no idea the power I represent.
I do like the actual oath itself. Like word for word, I think it is a very cool thing for like a clandestine group to have. I forgot to write it down word for word, but was it we work in the shadows to protect those we'll never meet, or what if I don't know if anybody has it written down.
Yeah, I didn't write it down, but I know what you're saying. It's like for those we need to protect, and for those we'll never meet, or something like that.
Yeah, and like it's a pretty deep cut, and that's a really cool thing.
Yeah,
but again, to have like the whole like we were bad people, and we're trying to redeem ourselves by joining this group, that definitely doesn't work for me.
It could explain why Ethan is always on the run from his own people. There's only one Mission Impossible movie, and it's the one that never gets referenced Mission Impossible 2 is the only one where the CIA isn't trying to stop Ethan doing what he's doing. And and maybe that's why. Maybe it's because they know he has this background as a reformed baddie.
You know, it's funny you say that because I've made that observation before too. The second one is literally the one time he gets pulled in and sent on a mission, and he just does the mission.
Yep.
You know, I kind of don't get why, you know, Bond has gone down that same road too, where it feels like if he's not going rogue, like it's almost like the writers feel like they're being lazy if they just pull him in and say, "Here's your mission, go do it." I don't see any problem with that. I never understand why they always have to add this layer of like, you know, he's going rogue again. But yeah, these films are all like that, honestly. I mean,
I wonder if that's just to give him 2 challenges to face in a movie, because he's got to, he needs to get the bad guy or get the thing before the bad guy gets the thing, but he has to outrun his own people at the same time. So that could just be a storytelling device to raise the stakes.
It definitely is. I totally agree with that. I mean, honestly, the entire airport sequence works because he's trying to do the mission over here while he's outrunning the people on the supposed good guys over there. I mean, he's totally running from 2 different groups right there. So yeah, it is. But I kind of feel like, I don't know. It would be fine if you just did this straight up, you know, he's the good guy, so we're going to send him on a mission. It's almost like they feel like we're going to feel cheated if they don't do that.
It knows your story and how it ends.
So I did have a couple criticisms, not big criticisms, but just a couple observations that I thought like, I don't know if I would have done it that way. But
let's hear it.
Well, one of my big ones is the introduction of the character Paris.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt like as soon as she showed up, my first thought was, okay, so we're gonna do the transporter now. Like I kind of felt like she was. there was a little glimmer of this film, kind of almost like it was starting to feel a little more like John Wick than Mission Impossible. You know, and I kind of felt like, you didn't need to do that. I like that the films are very stylized. In fact, some of my favorite ones are the ones that are sort of very hyper stylized. But I kind of thought that was a little much. Her running around in the short schoolgirl skirt, I kind of like that to me. That was right out of Transporter for me.
Yeah, it is a little. She does belong to a different kind of action movie. The Mission Impossible characters never really get that exotic. She's a little bit. She's a little hammier, I think, in this characterization than most of the Mission Impossible baddies, who are usually just like faceless thugs and goons. However, I do like that she's called Paris because Leonard Nimoy's character on the original Mission Impossible show was the Amazing Paris. So I think that they're starting to do that. Yeah. They're starting to pay homage a little bit to the TV show because there's another character in this movie, Agent Briggs, who was the protagonist in the first season of Mission Impossible. So they're starting to like throw in those little Easter eggs to all of the fans of the TV show who were pissed off about Jim Phelps being the bad guy in the first one.
That's interesting. I wonder if, well, maybe I don't want to speculate. Have you seen the next one yet, by the way?
I have. Have either of you?
I have not.
I have not.
Okay.
But now I'm dying to.
Well, I'm doing my best to analyze this film on its own without knowing what comes next. And I don't want that to creep into my review of this movie, be it positive or negative, because this one should stand on its own.
Agreed. No, good job. But the thought I was, and again, I don't want you to say yes, no, or anything, but I was going to say, I wonder if they're going to do more of that in the next film, where they try to lead it sort of back into, you know, where to its origins. But
I will not comment.
We'll save that for.
I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of the IMF.
I would say that for me, like when you get a lot of these espionage movies, they tend to have multiple storylines that you have to follow, and it sometimes it can be overwhelming. I thought they took a really complex theme, but they did it straightforward without that whole like Charlie Day conspiracy web map thing up on the wall. Like, you didn't have like a million different story arcs and things like that. Different storylines you had to follow. It for what it was. The storyline with AI and the White Widow, the whole switching of the keys back and forth and who's going to get the key and I got to follow this guy and all that. They did it in a way that it was actually easy to follow so that you're not getting confused with the storyline. So I appreciated that about the film. My one critique, doing the weapons thing again, was Ilsa and Gabriel's fight on the bridge. You have a sword versus the knives. You have the advantage of distance with a long blade. Yet every single time they're like right up each other's asses, face to face, like the inches from each other. And it was pissing me off the whole time watching. I'm like, just stay away. You have the long blade. Just stay away. And spoiler, I won't get into the spoilers if you haven't seen it, but like, yeah, it doesn't end well.
No, go for it.
Yeah, we can.
That is a thing that you're not the first person to point that out. That they're so outmatched when it comes to the weapons. Why is it as close of a fight as it is? Why does she lose?
Yeah, I was just like, back up. That's all you got to do. The whole time yelling at the TV. I'm like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. I kind of also felt like that scene, when I mentioned earlier about how it was starting to feel pretty John Wickish, I thought that scene right there was sort of a big one, where I kind of felt like it was really kind of, there was between the AI baddie, whatever was it called again?
The entity.
The entity. Yeah, I felt like when they were in the club, and all of a sudden, like, you see this thing happening on the screen, and it's making the creepy noises and stuff, like horror movie noises. And I'm kind of going
like stomach after too much scotch.
Yeah. Yeah. I think around then I was starting to feel, well, first off, I felt it was getting a little nice, a little like John Wick. But the other part of me there was another part of me that was a little critical of, I don't think I still quite get the entity.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of pushing the idea that the entity is the baddie and Gabriel works for the entity, not the other way around.
Correct.
And it was almost starting to, it was bordering on supernatural, I thought. And like just kind of dancing with that a little bit. And I was like,
I think that's the way it's supposed to be, that Gabriel is kind of like the first member of the entity's cult. Like, he's just enthralled by it. He thinks it's this like supernatural entity, even though it's like an AI, which I don't think they really got into its origins. But he believes that it's like this all-knowing thing, and that's why he's following it. I know that if I do this, one of you two is going to die. Like, he's very upfront about that. And that was a little strange. And I actually had in my show notes, like, I feel like they just kind of jumped into the entity without that much of a backstory. I mean, they explained it in that little briefing where Ethan sneaks in under that really weird dude's face with the crazy purple knockout gas or green knockout gas, but they don't get deep enough as to where it came from. It just is. And I wish there was more of a backstory. I don't know if the sequel gets into that. Kyle might know, but he's not going to say anything.
I can neither confirm nor deny. I will say that if this movie would have gone down the route of Gabriel being like a person with augmented consciousness, like, somehow like he has an implant in his brain or something like that, it would not have surprised me. It almost seems like he's acting with clairvoyance or some sort of connectivity with the entity. He doesn't have that in this movie. I mean, he's just a man, but he happens to be somehow connected with this thing that's telling him all of these mathematical certainties that he wouldn't otherwise know. It is not very well explained. That's a problem with this one. I do think, though, that, I mean, in this day and age, AI makes a great MacGuffin, and maybe should we be scared of this thing? Maybe I'm a little bit scared of this thing.
Yeah, that's a fair point
watching
too.
The Matrix,
right?
I mean,
beware the machine.
Yeah, I mean, that is a fair point, because it you know, I kind of feel like in this day and age, like, when are we going to discuss AI? And I feel like in terms of Hollywood storytelling, like, you know, yeah, that's like the way Bond kind of tries to stay current with his baddies, you know, sort of where we are in the world at this point. Yeah, but it's funny. I kind of felt like as we're talking about this, about Gabriel being almost kind of clairvoyant and somehow being sort of maybe because he's got a real deeper connection to this thing or whatever, I was kind of flashing back to Mission Impossible 3, and the bad guy in there I thought was similar in that he was so sinister when he would say things like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do that, and by the end of the film it comes true, you know, and it's like that makes him a chilling villain. Like he was really, you know, and I kind of feel like he's almost kind of wasted in that film because we are kind of getting into total MacGuffin territory where we literally don't know what we're chasing in that one.
Sure.
But the villain was just absolutely chilling for that reason. But in that, you know, in terms of how the story plays out, it made more sense. This one, the guy looks like he's psychic, and we're just supposed to accept the fact that he is.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the get the thing before the bad guys get the thing is explained better in Mission Impossible 3 than it is this one, because we don't really know what Gabriel's connection with the thing is. But that is just, it's one of the most classic action movie plots in the world. I mean, some of the best action movies are just as simple as get the thing before the bad guys can get the thing.
I didn't actually pick up on or read it that way in the story. I thought of Gabriel as just a true believer, like any other terror, like a religious terrorist, or like with a deep connection. Like, oh, this is what it's saying. This is what's going to happen. I have to put my full faith into it. As long as I do that, I'm going to come out on top. And that's how I was reading it. He's getting this information from the entity. It's like, if you do this, I'm going to protect you. Just like, I won't go there, but other terrorists that are out there, they believe that if they do this certain thing, as they are told, that they're going to, you know, get their afterlife that they wish to get. And that's the way I was reading Gabriel's character. As long as he follows it to the T, he's a true believer. It's going to protect him. He's going to come out on top. I didn't get it so much as like a clairvoyance thing. It's just this is my God. I follow it. It's going to protect me.
Fair enough. And I could definitely read it that way, except I don't know what he gets out of it other than just power. And maybe that's enough.
Maybe that is enough. Maybe 72 virgins is enough. Who knows?
They could be.
Yeah. No, that's perfectly fair. I mean, honestly, right. I mean, there's not a whole real motivation, but then again, like, I mean, so many bad guys in films often don't, you know, we do bad things because we're bad people, whatever. But no, that's a fair point. I kind of, you know, and this is also sort of reminding me too, like I can remember when back in the days when Dave and I were reviewing Avengers, not Endgame, but before that, Infinity Wars.
Oh, Infinity War, yeah.
Yeah.
The one 45 minutes of Thor shopping for a hammer.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. I remember when
I missed Fat Thor. I liked Fat Thor.
When we reviewed Infinity War, I remember being very stuck and it was almost like I knew this was a brilliant film, but I felt like it was so hard for me to rank it because it ended on a cliffhanger. And I kind of felt like so it purposely ended without a resolution. So I didn't quite know how to rank it or how to sort of rate or review the film. And I kind of feel like this one probably has the same problem because this one is a full-blown part one, even though they sort of, you know, messed with the title a little bit for the next one.
But we know how much Ray loves that.
Yeah. Seriously.
The 8th or 7th Mission Impossible is part one.
Yeah. Right.
And there is no part two.
Yeah. So it kind of makes me a little like there's so much in here that it's like, well, I can't really say if I like it or if I don't like it because I'm still waiting on the resolution. If I get the resolution, then fine. But kind of, it's like for now, I don't know that I can do that. It's sort of weird. So, I mean, again, the film is brilliant on its own, but there's like all the little nitpicky things here and there. It's like, well, you know, if it comes to a reasonable conclusion, then fair enough. Like kind of what you're saying. Like there was a part when he tells Paris, you know, he double crosses her because he says, "You're gonna turn on me because he spared your life."
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like, well, if you didn't just do that, she might not have. I don't know.
Right.
Like, I don't know that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But the AI is the AI is kind of clairvoyant now, so it's saying that this is going to happen. So we just assume that it will. So
Well, now you're getting
kind of
into
becomes
a whole
a
chicken and egg thing. Like,
yeah.
if he didn't say that, did he do that so she would turn on him? Like, you could really get into the weeds on all.
Well,
of that.
hang on 1 second. This is all explained in the Matrix. Remember the part where Neo walks into the what's her name? Not the Prophet, the
Oracle.
The Oracle. And she says, "Watch out for that plate of cookies." And he's like, "What?" And turns and knocks it over. And she says, "What's really going to bake your noggin is, would you have knocked it over if I didn't say anything?"
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's that kind of play. Like maybe the AI is like telling it, and if he does it, it's going to happen. As opposed to if it didn't tell him to do that, it might not have happened. So it's influencing the actions that are going to be happening in the film.
Listen to me. The world's coming after you.
His fate is written. Shall we write yours too?
If anything happens to them, there's no place that I won't go to kill you. That is written.
Anyway, we talked a lot about like the high octane, the suspense, and all that. What about the comedy in the movie? There was a lot of humor in this. Something that's been kind of like lacking in a lot of the Bond films lately.
Yeah, and it's never slapsticky, and it's never of a different genre. Like it still fits within this world. I know it's funny interplay between Luther and Benji, something like that. Like I could see these guys, especially after they've been working together for so long on so many missions, having that sort of repartee.
Oh yeah, who's the better hacker and all that?
Right, exactly. So I think it's really good.
I would agree with that. It never ever breaks character, the comedy. It doesn't break the mood of the film, so it always works pretty well.
I burst out laughing when he's looking for the safe car, and they go running up, and you see like that, you know, $1 million sports car sitting there, and he hits the activate button, and that stupid little I'll show my age, like a Nintendo RC Pro Am yellow Fiat thing just comes zipping out backwards. But even still, when they got in it, and after all that fun and stuff, that was a legit car chase in that stupid thing. Like it wasn't goofy and bonkers. It was fun and legit, and still carried on with the suspense of the film. I thought that was really well done too.
I'll tell you what, the best piece of comic relief in the whole movie happens right after the car chase. When Ethan doesn't have enough time to pick the lock of the handcuffs, and then the next time you see him, he's just walking down the street with the steering wheel in his hand.
Yes.
That is, it's a funny moment, but I could see this character doing that to get out of that situation. I mean, he's thinking on his feet and getting out quick, and it just happens to be presented in a humorous way. But you bring up the yellow car. And the yellow car is the most egregious example of this. I'm of two minds when it comes to Dead Reckoning. Should I hate it because it steals so much from the James Bond movies, or should I love it because it pays homage to the James Bond movies? And I choose to go down the road of imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I really like this movie a lot. It's one of my favorite of the Mission Impossible movies, but we can't deny the fact that it has the same opening as the Spy Who Loved Me. It's got the car chase from For Your Eyes Only. It's got the Orient Express from Russia with Love. It's got the stuff with the submarine from Tomorrow Never Dies. The couple being handcuffed together during the middle of a car chase is also in Tomorrow Never Dies. So they are picking, they're cherry picking some of the best of Bond here for this movie.
Yeah, that is definitely a thing. And again, it's kind of what we were saying earlier. It's like they are really kind of showing James Bond how it's done.
Yeah.
You know? and yeah, that kind of. I feel like even though I sort of agree with you that homage is the most sincerest form of flattery, there is still a part of me that goes, "Ouch!" You know?
Oh yeah, it hurts. It stings because James Bond is a better character. This franchise has never really been about character. This franchise has always been about the big stunts and the big spectacles and the big set pieces, and they write stories around those big set pieces. But this one still delivers.
I don't know that I would. I know what you're saying. I don't know that I would totally agree that that this is a series that's not about characters, because I sort of feel like if you didn't have, we have a good idea, a pretty solid foundation about who Ethan Hunt is. So when he reacts to situations, we kind of have faith that we know what he's going to do and why. Because he's going to do the right thing all the time. And I kind of feel like there's something to be said for that. And I kind of feel like it maybe even works almost better in that respect. Because I sort of feel like, I feel like I'm flashing back to Ian Fleming talking about giving James Bond intentionally a very boring name. Because he wants him to be the guy that you project yourself onto. And by keeping him sort of
which
a
we
blank
never
slate, right? Yeah, not at all. So, and I kind of feel like Ethan is sort of similar in that respect. Like we kind of, in fact, I would almost argue that we see more of Ethan's personality throughout the series evolve. Again, I'm harkening back to like 3 when he's like literally getting married, and he actually gets married, and how that comes back later on. And he's sort of going down that, Bond, Felix Leiter route of, can a guy like me ever settle down and get married and try to live the good life while I do what I do? And the answer is wholeheartedly no,
right.
And it kind of comes back to slap him sort of. So yeah,
something else they've stolen from Bond.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah, I guess that's just part of the territory, I can remember like when True Lies came out, sort of feeling a little the same thing, where it's boy, they're kind of doing Bond better than Bond's doing it lately. But again, it's hard to, I don't know. James Bond's been around for 60 plus years, so I guess I can't complain when the newbies are coming out and doing it the new way and stuff.
You know what I'll compare it to is like when a recording artist samples music from an older song.
Yeah, big time.
That's kind of what they're doing here. They're taking some of the melodies that were written 30, 40, even 50 years ago, remixing it and adding new lyrics and a new beat and a drum machine to give us something new that still references something old.
Yes, very much so. And to your point, yes, it's funny because like when that happens, sometimes I'll hear something that is riffing off an old song, and there's sampling and there's most of the time I'm like, oh, don't do that to that old song, because this is such garbage. But then once in a while something comes out and you're like, ooh, I kind of like this. This is kind of catchy, and it's like you almost don't want to like it, but you do. This would fall into that category.
Well, when you're the OG though, like it's hard not to influence everything else, because you could say
very true.
You could say Mission Impossible is borrowing from Bond. You could say the Kingsman series, which I'm a huge fan of, stole from Bond or whatever. But you're going to harken back to it. You're going to make references to, and there's so many films behind it. It's hard not to cross paths with something that's already been done, especially with the Bond series.
Sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And like music, there's only so many notes. So eventually something's going to sound like something else.
Ethan, what's your objective? What's your ultimate objective?
So there's one really big bugaboo in this film, and I'm kind of surprised nobody's touched on it yet. I purposely didn't want to jump on it too soon because I thought somebody would grab this one. But how did we feel about Grace, Haley Atwell's character?
You know the shit out of it.
Okay, go for it.
No, I'm saving that.
Please,
I'm saving that for the Who Asked You.
Okay.
She looked very familiar, and I even messaged you guys about it when I was watching it for the first time. I'm like, who is this chick, and why do I recognize her? And I think you, Kyle, you pointed out that she was like the girlfriend in Captain America.
Yep.
But I don't know. If it wasn't for the plot point that they started at the beginning, where they were flashing back to the whole thing we talked about earlier about like having this background and you're going to be given the choice, I don't think her character would have worked in the story. But I'm saving the rest of my negativeness about her for the end. So why don't you jump in?
I'm not sure, and again, I have to keep my comments to watching this movie in a vacuum. I'm not sure why she's here and why this isn't Ilsa, other than maybe there was scheduling conflicts with the actress. I don't know why this character exists in this movie and why it isn't just Ilsa. I mean, that's kind of the role that she played in the last couple of films, where her allegiances weren't always clear. She was always on the side of the Angels, but sometimes working against Ethan's interests while pursuing something, of merit of her own. So I just don't understand, other than, it could have just been a way to replace one female lead with another. I'm not 100% sure what purpose her character serves here and why it wasn't one that was already well established.
Well, she's a huge chunk of the plot when you think about it. I kind of feel like, I mean, she's not just a filler character. I mean, she's sort of a big chunk. I feel like there's a lot of ink on those pages that are really dedicated to her and what she's doing here and how she ends up and all this other stuff. Had it just been Ilsa, then you wouldn't have had all that stuff about. I mean, the whole point of her on the train disguised as the other girl, and they talk to her about how she's got to cross over and basically join the team, etc. And then you see her kind of struggling with it. If it was Elsa, you wouldn't have had any of that. It would have just been like, okay, here's the plan. Let's do the plan. Period. But it was funny. I'm trying to remember. I feel like there was some movie we talked about where we were shouting at the screen saying, how many times is this person going to betray you before you...
Stop.
That was Dial of Destiny.
That was Dial of Destiny, yes.
Is that it? Yeah. I mean, honest to God, I was sort of saying that throughout this whole film. I'm like, dude, why is he... And it almost sort of hit a point where I wasn't crazy about... I mean, basically, at some point, Ilsa, for all practical purposes, sacrifices herself to save Grace.
Yep.
And I'm saying to myself, and maybe I just sort of answered my own question. Maybe that's why her name is Grace, because we're trying to see her as something pure, sort of. Even though she's doing bad things, we're trying to save her the best we can and keep her from falling down this bad road or whatever. But honestly, the entire time, it's like, Ethan, how many times are you going to let this girl screw you over before you finally just walk away and say, you know what? I think that's the last time I'm going to give you, some leeway. And yeah, then by the time Ilsa dies, just so this girl can survive, it was like, I don't know that I like that. I mean, again, Ilsa's a character that we know and love and has proven herself. And this other girl has done nothing to prove herself. I mean, the story is trying very hard to tell us that we should sort of be rooting for her redemption, which we get, but
you're laying it on a little thick.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, I don't know how I end up feeling about that, but I don't know. Am I crazy?
She must be here to show, in this new rewritten structure, to show how somebody gets recruited into the IMF. In this new guidelines that have been introduced in this movie. Like, this is how one becomes a member, and this is how one chooses that life and then lives the life of the IMF agent, which again, I think is not what the previous films have shown us the IMF to be. But, again, I've got to look at this film on its own, and I think that that's kind of the purpose she serves here.
Fair enough, yes, and again, I do think that, like I said, it definitely was not a simple matter of maybe Ilsa wasn't available, so we had to swap, because again, there's too much time given to this character. You know, her introduction, her eventual character arc, her coming into her own. So yeah, but again, and just I didn't know if it totally worked for me, but
you need to have a strong woman.
Rising to the top, push it to the edge, give it all you got, barely break a sweat, strong woman, strong.
In all of these movies, like you have to have a good, compelling female character in every Mission Impossible movie, otherwise it doesn't work. Is she that character? I think is our question here.
No, she was fucking annoying.
I'm going to put Ray down as undecided.
There you go. Yeah, I have a tiny hint. I think I know where Ray's going to go when we get to Who Asked You. But.
No kidding.
Your life will always matter more to me than my own.
Did you guys pick up on the on how they Red October us in the pre-title sequence? The Russian characters start out speaking Russian, and then they just they do a very seamless transition into them speaking English. Like, you know what a fan I am of that movie, so I'm like, they Red October us.
Well, Kyle, I know that you're reading the Jack Carr books for a little bit. I don't know if you were, Joe, but the last one, Red Sky Morning, that's heavily influenced by Bond and all that, had a very similar intro. Started off on a submarine, torpedoes launched, comes back and destroys it. And it was just one of those like weird coincidences, apparently. You know how like when like two studios put out like a super similar movie like right around the same time? Like he wrote that book and it was like obviously he started it well before 2023. But then it gets released and then this movie comes out and like the intros are like super similar. And it was just one of those weird coincidences. Like I did a deep dive trying to figure out, I'm like, oh shit, which one came out first? Did like somebody bite off the other one or anything like that? But it was just one of those odd studio things. Just thought it was really strange.
We're all worried about the same things.
Yeah. Oh, fun fact. If either of you know, this is just something that I had written down. The theme song is actually Morse code, the beat for the letter M and the letter I, the Mission Impossible theme.
I didn't know that.
The M is dash dash. Well, the rhythm, the Mission Impossible rhythm. M is dun dun dash dash, and then the I is dot dot. Dun 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 dun, and that's what they based the theme song on.
I had no idea. That is a good fun fact.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting.
Well, since you brought it up, we should talk about the score because I think that's one of the highlights of this movie. Lorne Balfe putting in an all-timer. It uses the classic Lalo Schifrin Mission Impossible score, but it also has an eerie theme for the Entity, and then a lot of pulse-pounding high-energy music when there is a big stunt. But he also knows when to score something with nothing at all, like the motorcycle jump. There's no music whatsoever, and that, I think, helps punctuate the drama of the scene.
That was a hell of a stunt, too.
Seriously, I think that's the standout stunt of this movie. And Mission Impossible has reached the point where once they went to names instead of numbers, I've been having a hard time remembering which title belongs with which movie.
Yes,
the way I remember them is by the big stunt. So is it the one where he climbs up the side of the Burj Khalifa? Is it the one where he jumps into the giant toilet bowl? And this one is the one where he rides a motorcycle off a cliff and lands on a train.
The funny part about that stunt to me was like I'm well aware of it. Like that's the behind the scenes stuff that I see on YouTube all the time and on like little reels and such. But when they did it in the movie, the whole sequence on the train, I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, where the hell is he? When's he coming? Holy shit! Like, did I miss it? What happened? And then when he comes bursting through the side of the train, in the nick of time, I genuinely like didn't think it was going to happen, and that just made it really, really funny. Like the timing of it was just perfect, and the stunt itself, just watching it, like the way when the bike drops and the camera's following him down, and then the wide shots and all that, I'm like, holy shit, that's Tom Cruise doing it. That's nuts. The man is a nut.
And another great way to blend in some comic relief right after a literally heart-stopping stunt.
None of our lives can matter more than this mission.
I don't accept that.
All right, Raymond, let's score the sucker. What do you got?
All right, so again, I missed a lot of the Mission Impossible series, and I'm regretting it. This movie was just high octane, suspenseful. It was fun, easy to follow. Not a whole lot of threads that you have to go thinking about and revisiting and all that. You'd watch it once, you understand what happened. You rewatch it again because it was so good. It's really good. I'm going to give it an 8.8. I think it's a solid score. It's not perfect, but it's really good. It's really enjoyable, and I'm probably going to end up watching it again after we record this, just so I can pick up on all the points that I missed that you guys are mentioning.
Kyle, what do you got?
Well, I was all set to give this movie a 10, just based on my enthusiasm for it when it first came out. But I think that was kind of like when you have the new girlfriend or you buy the new car, you think it's the greatest thing, and then you live with it for a little while. So I kind of tempered that enthusiasm a little bit from the first two times I saw it. I think this time around it dragged a little bit in the middle. But oh boy, that third act is just so good that I've got to give it a 9.
I am also going to give it a 9, and again, for the reasons that we have been talking about, I feel like there is no part of me that would hesitate to rewatch this again. Like if somebody said to me, I never saw this movie, I'm like, yeah, put it on right now. I'll watch it in a heartbeat. It's a phenomenal film. It's just amazing to look at. The story works. And yeah, I would say it's just shy of being, I almost feel like, to really be like a full blown 10, you probably have to be like an original film. I feel like it's usually those ones that come out of the gate and just create a perfect film without the worries about, well, what happened before this or what's going to happen after this or whatever. It stands on its own totally. So with that in mind, I think it's just shy of a 10. So I'm going to give it a 9.
Hey, we're all on the same page.
Yep. If you remember, and it's been a couple of years, what did you score Fallout when that came out? Whenever that was, 2018, I think.
That's a great question. You know what? I would almost guarantee that I probably also gave it a 9. I might have even given it a 10 because honestly, if I remember right, I think I named that my best film of that year.
Yeah.
This
was my best film of 2023 in a year that also saw The Flash, which wasn't that great. That kind of let me down. The Dial of Destiny, which again could have been better. Yeah. Barbie, which I thought was overrated, but Oppenheimer, which was awesome. I still picked this one as the best one of that summer, and it fell through the cracks because all those other movies I think outperformed it at the box office. Maybe not The Flash.
Interesting, yeah, yeah. I totally agree with you. I mean, this was easily the runaway winner as far as. I'll make a confession. I still haven't seen Oppenheimer, even though everyone has told me it's fantastic.
You got to see that one.
Yeah, I will. So of the things I saw, this was definitely top tier. Who asked you, Raymond? I'm so curious what you're going to mention.
Well, it hasn't been foreshadowed at all.
No.
I'm really, really tired of this modern trend in movies. I feel like it used to be like man chases woman, woman rejects man, man redeems himself and catches woman. The new trend to me seems to be man chases woman, woman dicks him over. Man continues to chase woman, she continues to dick him over and over and over and over again. And yet the man still pursues this chick. And I hate this trend. I really do. So that's my Who Asked You. I'm tired of the dude chasing the woman when the woman continually screws him over, and yet for whatever reason, plot point or not, he continues to chase after her and not say, fuck this, I'm going to look for something else. Whether it's a love interest or a new recruit for your spy agency, you can do better. Just give up, move on, find somebody else.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Kyle, what do you got?
For me, it's a little bit less concrete. It's more just some of the unnecessary plot complications. Is Kittredge a good guy? Is he in league with Ethan? Is he not? Is Carrie Elwes's character good, bad? Like there were just too many complications about what is Gabriel trying to do, with whom, who's trying to help him and why, who's working against him and why, where does the White Widow fit into all this? It just seemed like too many steps to get in the way of the get the thing before the bad guy gets the thing. It can be as simple as that, and I think the story would have been a little bit stronger without the double cross, triple cross, quadruple cross. Who's Ethan's boss? Does Ethan trust his boss? Does he not? It just got way too complicated for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And by the way, now that we're talking about it, did I forget, was the Briggs character somebody from a prior film? Because I couldn't quite understand his motivation.
Well, stick around.
All right. I'll, fair enough.
Tune in next week to review.
Okay, very good. Okay, so mine, and again, I had a couple that I was sort of toying with. I think, Ray, you summed up the sort of Grace problem that I had perfectly, so I'll skip over that. And I will focus on the Paris character. I kind of, again, I felt like that one was very comic booky for me. And again, it's a little more akin to something like The Transporter or a Fast and the Furious kind of movie, or a John Wick. You know, I like that the Mission Impossible films, they balance it so perfectly, where these films are very, very over the top, but they do it in a way where they sort of keep one foot on the ground, and so it keeps you kind of engaged. And once it starts to get a little too carried away and a little too comic booky, then it starts to lose me. And I kind of felt like that was the Paris character. Again, she's the Terminator in a schoolgirl skirt, you know. And I was like, nah, come on, you know, we've seen it. She was what was the girl?
I know where you're going with this. The girl from Kill Bill.
Yes,
Go-Go.
Right. Yes,
Yep.
Go-Go. Right.
Go-Go,
I know.
She was that.
Exactly
Yes.
where you were going with this. And
Yeah.
you're 100% right.
Thank you. Honestly, and I said to myself, don't even go down this road because you can't remember who it was, so just leave it be. So I'm glad you jumped in. Thank you. So yeah, that's it. That's it for me. That's my bugaboo.
Just punt the 60-pound soaking wet little Asian chick across the room. Like,
Exactly. All right, but for your consideration, Ray, what do you got?
for your consideration, if there was ever going to be anybody who could possibly convince me that L. Ron Hubbard was a prophet, that Scientology is a legit religion, and that praying to some spaghetti monster in the sky and you crossing the bridge into clear, it's Tom Cruise. The man is not human. He is an alien. He is beyond what any mortal man can be. His acting was great. The stunt work, I feel like he's America's Jackie Chan. He's beloved by everybody internationally, does his own stunts. He's a machine. I think he's a legend, and the price of admission to see this film, just to see him do what he does in this film, is worth it. He made the movie. The stunt work is fantastic. The acting I thought was great. The man can't miss, or at least lately he hasn't.
Can't argue with you there.
I can't either, and I'm pretty sure it was right around Fallout when I remember hearing people saying, maybe we should give this whole Scientology thing a second look, because this guy is supernatural, boy. He is doing something right. Honestly, when they show, I find it very unfair when they show pictures of him versus, sitting next to co-stars from movies he did in the 80s, and like he looks like he hasn't changed a bit, and they look like they're got one foot in the grave. I mean, it is pretty amazing how old this guy is, and he's still doing what he's doing. I'm honestly kind of stumped for your consideration, because I honestly felt like there was so many scenes in this film that really just kind of blew my mind. So I mean, I almost feel like this sounds like sort of a cop out, but just the fact that these films have gotten better and better over time as opposed to the other way around. I mean, I really can't think of another series that does this, where they literally just keep getting better, as opposed to starting strong out of the gate and then trying to sort of wring that sponge for every little drop that you can get out of it until there's nothing left. This one honestly just gets better and better. All of the films just get progressively better. I mean, Ray, if you go back, again, you said you missed a couple or you're not sure what you saw or didn't see. You go back to the beginning and just start picking them off one by one, start from the first one and go forward. You are in for a treat, my friend, because they literally, I mean, there's not a bad one in this, and they just get better.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. Well, mine's a lot more simple than my Who Asked Me, and that's just the motorcycle stunt.
Yeah.
How could it not be? And each mission has that one signature stunt that we all remember, whether it's abseiling down into the CIA computer terminal or jumping out of a helicopter on a bungee jump into the biosite headquarters. Here, it's the motorcycle jump onto a moving train, knocking out a bad guy in the process. It's just, I've seen this movie 3 times, and I would stand up and watch it 7 inches away from the television screen with my breath held still. It's that good. It's that compelling.
Totally agree. I cannot. And once again, nodding to Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yep. And he's doing it for real, not like
Yep.
Say anyway.
Yeah, our franchise might be in trouble.
Well, hey, that's the beauty, is that there's some new blood, and this is why where a lot of people are kind of grumbling. I'm like, I think I'm ready for some fresh blood. So we'll see what they can come up with. Yeah, honestly, I mean,
that is motivation. When somebody does it better than you, you got to turn around and just up the game a little bit.
Gentlemen, I think that is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Nicely done, fellas.
Yeah, I've been excited to watch this for a long time, so I'm glad we got to chat about it.
I'm excited to get back into it and catch up on what I missed.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I feel like I can sometimes I'll say, "Oh, this is a great movie," but I don't want to overhype it too much because maybe you won't. No, this one, you'll love these. Honestly.
Yep, they're great.
Which means next time we get together, we're going to be talking about Final Reckoning.
Yes, indeed. Could that be foreshadowing? Do we know what that means? I do.
All right, don't spoil
Snake kills
anything.
Dumbledore.
What?
All right, gentlemen, I will see you here next week.
Cheers, gentlemen.
All right, take care.
Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe, Kyle, and Ray. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode. You can also find our episodes on our YouTube channel. Check the link in the description. All clips in this podcast are for commentary and critique and are considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.
In order to do my job, I have to ask myself, who is Tom Cruise? What is Tom Cruise? Why is Tom Cruise? When is Tom Cruise? I think if you're going to be a really good stunt double, you have to really become one with the actor. You have to walk like the actor, talk like the actor, legally change your name to sound like the actors. I don't think of myself as a stunt double, really. It's more like I'm a stunt one bull. I don't think Tom's going to want to do that kick. All right, that's not the way he moves. He doesn't pivot that way. He likes to lunge left. He doesn't usually scoop under right. I think it's a bad idea. He's never going to go for it. It's not realistic. It's not a Tom Cruise kick.
Tom said he wanted to go with a kick.
I've done 14 films with Tom, all right? So I think I have a pretty good idea of what Tom does or doesn't want to...
How's that kick coming along, huh?
He doesn't think you'd go with a kick.
What? That's...
The way we work is he'll go through sometimes and do the scene, and it's helpful for me because it gives me that outside perspective.
You know what? I think we have too many kicks in the movie, Tom. I mean, I never say to Wu's face, but I think you got... You know, like how many times can we look at you kicking a guy and then getting kicked in the face? I just... You know what? Kick. Let's call it... You know, let's call it kicking impossible.
You could go...
Let's call it kicking impossible.
You know, he's harmless. He's
Okay, cut! Out of Tom. Tom Cruise does most of his own stunts, so he doesn't really need a stunt double. But we make good use of the other Tom Cruise. Harder.
I mean, I'm always thinking, I'm always brainstorming ways to make the fight look better.
And Ambrose, he can jump right over the hill.
John, I'm sorry, this is a crazy thought. I just got this idea, but what if when Tom jumps off of the bike and when they're both coming at each other, if right before, and this is just something just flew in my head here, if he turns to camera and goes, this mission, it just got a hell of a lot more impossibler. Boom! Then you do the hit. What do you think?
But we'll think about it.
Go away.